Hello and Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Hasib bin Abdul Rahim.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Izzati Kristina binti Syarudi.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Akia Syaira binti Hamidi.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Ali Syafiqah binti Abdul Razak.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Sofia Hana binti Rahman. 51 years ago, the National Action Council implemented the New Economic Policy, NEP, which is a program of social engineering and affirmative action that was created due to inter-ethnic economic disparities and poverty. For inter-ethnic economic disparities, NEP is actually a mechanism of a response to the post-election race riots of May 1969. Recent election results, severe provocations, and inflammatory speech on both sides, as well as a long history of racial tension and economic inequality, all contributed to the violent riots between the Malay and Chinese communities in KL. Hence, in 1970, Tun Abdul Razak adopted a 20 years affirmative action policies, which is NEP, to restructure society to eliminate the identifications of race with economic function in order to create the conditions for national unity. So, it can lessen the economic gap between Bumi Putras and non-Bumi Putras, particularly between the Malay and Chinese. Moreover, the next problem is poverty. NEP was to seek the eradication of poverty regardless of race. This is because before independence, more than half of nation households lived in poverty. The prevalence of poverty among Malays is greater at 64.8% compared to 26.8% for Chinese and 39.2% for Indians. However, the NEP had been evolved to National Development Policy, which is NDP, by former Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad in 1991 to 2000. It necessitated certain adjustments to the roots of NEP creation to reduce inter-ethnic economic disparities and to eradicate poverty. The first objective is to achieve national unity. Since social riots started in 1969, causing inharmonious societies within Malaysia, it is important to take an economic integration approach. This ensures equal economic opportunities for all races. Hence, NEP aims to reunite Malaysia so that all races can have an equal economic stake without causing riots between races due to dissatisfaction. Second objective, to eradicate poverty. As such, NEP may be necessary in a multiracial country to lessen poverty by achieving more equitable distributions of opportunity and income among all racial and social groups. The third objective is to redistribute wealth. Prior to independence, Malays, the country's dominant ethnic groups, were economically and socially disadvantaged compared to the minority ethnic groups. Through NEP, it aims to ensure a level playing field for all ethnic groups in the long run by redistributing wealth more equitably.
Next, the government had implemented the strategies of new economic policy. Strategies to eradicate poverty are through land settlement schemes, which will enhance income, its distribution and living standards through the highly efficient use of land resources under the new economic policy. Therefore, under the Land Development Ordinance 1956, the Federal Land Development Board or FELDA was formed on 1st July 1956 that aimed to promote the rural sector in order to emphasize the necessity of planning and coordinating land development. FELDA's formation is to transform rural areas into potentially profitable agricultural areas. At the same time, FELDA serves as a resettlement location for the poor who do not own property in remote rural areas and offers basic services. Land settlers who are approved into the land scheme will be given an average house, a plot of land behind the house to grow fruit trees, vegetables and chickens, and 10 acres of agricultural land to crop production. Second strategy to eradicate poverty is by improved marketing network through the establishment of farmers markets in urban areas. Farmers markets in urbanized locations allow farmers to advertise their goods directly to customers at a lower cost. Farmers markets in Malaysian cities are essential since they are primary supply of fresh food for urban residents. Moreover, farmers markets are providing an important environment for developing and test marketing new products. Farmer markets, in addition to their primary function, create an atmosphere in which farmers and community people may connect in a pleasant and meaningful way regarding food. Strategy to achieve national unity are by implementation of a common curriculum for all schools. The school system has evolved into the primary instrument for encouraging integration among all Malaysians, regardless of ethnic. The adoption of Bahasa Malaysia as the primary language of teaching has reinforced the foundation of national unity by promoting efficient communication through Malaysians through the same language. Moreover, the establishment of concepts of Rukun Negara, the national ideology, it was created to foster loyalty to the monarch and nation, obeying the rule of law and nurturing ethic among the people.
Maka kami, rakyat Malaysia, berikrar akan menumpukan seluruh tenaga dan usaha kami untuk mencapai cita-cita tersebut.
Other than that, regional integration also will help to achieve national unity by enhancing transportation and communication linkage between Peninsular Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak through tax harmonisation and strengthening the activities of federal institutions such as Federal Agriculture Marketing Authority (FAMA) and the Social Security Organisation (SOSO) in Sabah and Sarawak. Meanwhile, government strategy in NEP under redistribute wealth is the creation of public enterprises, trust agencies and statutory bodies to acquire corporate equity on behalf of Bumiputra. Government agencies designed to expand Bumiputra involvement in commerce and industry which are Perbadanan Nasional Berhad (PERNAS) and Pemodalan Nasional Berhad (PNB). Industrial Coordination Act (ICA) in 1975 and the Petroleum Development Act (PDA) in 1974 both established a mechanism to construct individual Malaysia holders in order to meet the aim of distributing wealth ownership in favour of Malays. According to government statistics Bumiputra, primarily Malay ownership was 20.3% of the country in 1990. This growth is primarily due to the engagement of a broad network of trustee agencies such as PERNAS and MARA on behalf of Bumiputra citizens.
As we all aware, the pandemic of COVID-19 hit all over the world where the economy sector has shut down. Malaysia was also affected by the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic, which on 24 January 2020, the first COVID-19 case was discovered in Malaysia. Therefore, the impact of COVID-19 to the new economic policy can be seen to the unemployment rate and in decline the value of the Malaysian ringgit against the US dollar. Unemployment can be defined as an essential economic indicator because it indicates employers' desire or incapacity. With no demand of consumer, it will lead to the global economic crisis which resulted in employment losses. This is because high unemployment that human capital is not being utilized effectively, which is it maximize output where full employment should be a top macroeconomic objective to a country.
Data terkini Jabatan Perangkaan Malaysia atau DOSA menunjukkan bahawa kadar pengangguran Malaysia telah meningkat kepada 5.3% pada Mei 2020 berbanding dengan 5.0% pada April 2020.
Not only that, a decline in the value of the Malaysian ringgit against the US dollar has also impacted. During the time of the COVID-19 has spread to the Malaysian, the ringgit depreciated to its weakest level against the US dollar at 4.2957 as COVID-19 spurs heavy currency demand. Due to the impact of COVID-19, higher exchange rate is likely to affect a country's trade balance, which a lower value currency makes a country import more expenses and export less expenses in foreign market. Therefore, when the depreciation of the Malaysian ringgit against the US dollar happened, the fuel subsidy price might rise higher if fuel import costs rise. Manufacturing sector was not allowed to operate to control the transmission of COVID-19. Impact from this factor, inflation-driven costs will result from weaker exchange rates since the cost of imported raw material is rising. This is because the majority of manufacturing equipment in Malaysia is imported from China and Japan, where all the sector will have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, during the COVID-19, in the implementation of the movement control order, a lack of material such as raw material is quite likely if a proper supply chain is not in operation because of Malaysia's biggest supply is in China. All export activities were prohibited, particularly with China, because their state was still in control. Hence, Due to the impact of COVID-19, which the income of Malaysia export was ordered to stop operation during the 2-month lockdown, causing it to contract by 8.3% compared to a negative 1.7% growth in 2019. In April 2020, Malaysia reported a trade deficit of RM3.5 billion. The COVID-19 outbreak has put the Visit Malaysia 2020 campaign at risk, as 50% of Malaysian tourists come from Singapore and China. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, has fall in the number of tourists, where the increasing cases of COVID-19 in both countries have resulted in the cancellation of numerous tours that has impacted to the economy.
Firstly is raising level of income and expanding work possibility for all Malaysians. The introduction of numerous programs aimed at boosting employment and production provide many benefits to Malaysians. Among the evidence of increased revenue is the average export price of rubber increased by about 134%, 128 cents per kilo in 1970 to 300 cents per kilo in 1980. The price of palm oil also increased from 657 ringgit per ton to 1,140 per ton during the period. Next, the NEP also succeeds in modernizing the rural sector during 1971 until 1980, included the provision of improved input and facilities in existing agriculture area, the absorption of poor household into modern agriculture and other sector through accelerated creation of productive employment opportunities, and the provision of social service and amenities such as education, health, housing, water and electricity. With this program, the poor were able to increase their productivity and income through fuller utilization of their productive asset and skill, as well as enjoy an improvement in their quality of life. Non-governmental organisation, which is NGO, also participate in the poverty eradication program through education and training. They give, among other things, like small business loan to the poor, industrial training and job prospect. Next evolution is on improve national unity. The strategy to instill national unity is through the empowerment of Bahasa Malaysia. It is seen successful in increasing unity when the use of Bahasa Malaysia as the main medium of instruction facilities the communication of all citizens. Next, curriculum activity also provide opportunities for school children to interact and work together its club, activities and sport. Sabah and Sarawak have the same curriculum plan as the Peninsula, making education as a platform for community unification and no area is left out. Finally, the revolution in redistributing wealth can be seen when Malaysia succeed increase in total share capital of Malaysian companies and branch of foreign companies grew at rate of 16.7% per year from 6.6 thousand ringgit million in 1971 to 26.3 thousand million ringgit in 1980. During the period, the share capital owned by those resident in Malaysia increased from 38.3% to 52.5%. In addition, share ownership by foreign decreased from 61.7% to 47.5%. Various agencies have raised Bumi Putra Wealth ownership such as Permodalan Nasional Berhad, which is PNB. PNB have raised Bumi Putra Wealth ownership with reorganized society by and creating opportunities to enable Bumi Putra professional to participate in wealth generation and management. Now, with 12 unit trust fund under its management, PNB asset under management have grown impressively from just 3.5 billion ringgit in 1981 to 279.2 billion ringgit in 2070, with more than 30 million account invest with it.
Firstly, poverty eradication can be decreased through increasing the income of the people. During NEP era, Malays continue to be significantly underrepresented in jobs that involve management and administration, as well as sales activity. Additionally, they continue to be significantly underrepresented at the highest level of the private sector. Bumiputras have entered the private sector with great success, as stated in the 6th Malaysia Plan. However, they are mainly at lower levels. Because of this, it is recommended that the Malays should have a better opportunity to get a better job. Nowadays, government has sending helps to those in need, but not every voice is being heard. Next, government also can improve standard of living of the people by balancing the economics of peoples. This is to improve the economic standing of the Bumiputra, whose standing was historically inferior to that of the Chinese and other ethnic groups in Malaysia, since they were kept back during the colonial period. Last but not least, the structuring of Malaysian society. Education and training will remain an important means of achieving the employment restructuring goals. In this regard, more places in public and private institutions of higher learning will be made available for qualified Bumiputra students, particularly in ICT science and other professional courses. Furthermore, the government will continue to support outstanding Bumiputras students to prestigious university in other countries. There are many programs that have been created to test the performance of Malaysian students in international standard to ensure that the quality of the nation education is at the best level. For example, trends in international mathematics and science studies, teams, program for International Students Association, PISA, and many more.
In conclusion, new economic policy has proven that it was effective back in the time period because its success leads to national unity, as all the races has its own fair shares regarding the economic terms. However, the policy had been modified to New Development Policy, which is NDP, in 1991 to 2000. That makes NEP no longer relevant. Economic Planning Unit, now known as the Ministry of Economic Affairs, will implement new economic policies through programs and projects since the announcement that it will be commencing work on its 12th Malaysia Plan.